everybody! So the big day finally came yesterday and I got to see Batman vs. Superman, and this is probably one of the more highly anticipated movies of the year. It came after Man of Steel was a very controversial film. I really didn't like Man of Steel the first time I saw it, and I watched it again in my Batman and Superman rewatch that I did in the last month, where I watched all the Batman and all the Superman movies, and I left feeling like it was And to be honest, that was sort of my reaction coming out of Batman v Superman, unfortunately. There were some things I liked in it. My brother, who is a huge Batman fan, hated it. And it was, I think, in the end, disappointing. If I'm just going to be honest. And I will say, I'm going to try to keep this review spoiler-free, unless you consider having an opinion of a spoiler. So, there you go. But I think I'll say outright, this is not a film for children. And there's one thing that particularly happens at the end that will annoy adults and that will upset children. Also very violent, and it's dark, but it's not dark in a gritty kind of satisfying way like the Nolan movies, let's say. It's just sort of shooting people and Batman killing people and Superman killing people, like, that don't really matter or have any kind of relevance to the story. And so it's not the same kind of dark like you got with the Nolan films. And so just be aware that this is not a film to take kids to for Batman and Superman. The little boys that love Batman and Superman, I wouldn't take them. I would not take them to this movie. But let's talk about some of the things that I liked in the movie. I was really with this movie for about an hour, the first hour, because I thought that the way that they were sort of springing off of Man of Steel was interesting, and the way that they I thought, oh, maybe Zack Snyder sort of learned a little bit from Man of Steel and the things people didn't like about Man of Steel, and they use that as a touch point to kind of build the conflict in the movie. So Superman has destroyed all of Metropolis in this buildings are come down in this big fight with Zod, and Batman is there and he sees his own building with some of his friends and stuff get destroyed, and so he's very upset with Superman and he doesn't really trust Superman and all of that. Henry Cavill is fine as Superman, but he's not given a ton to do. I don't know, he just kind of stands around looking important a lot of the time. He's not given really a lot of good dialogue to flesh out the character, and I still don't think that him and Amy Adams are very good together. I just didn't have that chemistry that I wanted. And there's Holly Hunter, who's sort of the senator who is investigating whether Superman should be allowed to act unilaterally and without any kind of oversight. And then you have Jesse Eisenberg as Lex Luthor. He's actually like Lex Luthor's son, but he's Alexander Luthor. And he wants to basically kind of get rid of Batman and Superman, and so he develops this plan that's going to help him to do that. There's lots of talk in the movie about God and the fear of God and whether God can be all good or all powerful, and we can let this godlike character have all of this control. And so a lot is said about that. It's repeated again and again and again. So that's sort of the basis for the conflict, is this idea that Batman is afraid that basically if Superman goes south and becomes a bad person, then it will be this nightmare to civilization. Superman's trying to do the right thing. Everybody's questioning him. And that some of that was working for a while. And I think just the raw charisma of a lot of these actors was kind of winning me over for a little while. And so that was good. So here's where things had problems. The plan starts to get into effect. I started to get really, really annoyed because Ben Affleck as Batman is good. I liked him. He's charismatic. He's definitely rough. A lot of people will be annoyed by the killing that he does, but he's definitely like this grizzled, tough Batman. I thought Jeremy Irons was good as Alfred, although he's underused. I actually liked Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I thought she was good. I thought she was sexy and strong, and so there you go. And the problem is I didn't really like Lex Luthor, and it gets to a point where Batman is manipulated by Lex Luthor in a certain way, and I thought that he's manipulated way too easily, and there's certain things that happen with the plan that Lex Luthor has that seemed completely ridiculous. He's granted access to certain things, he's told certain things, he's able to do certain things that seemed ridiculous given his character throughout the rest of the story. There's certain things where he's at certain places that made no sense. The way the movie was edited together, it just didn't make sense sometimes, and it didn't work, and it didn't flow well. And you just felt like sometimes Zack Snyder would just like throw in another God speech, and you're just like, why are we hearing this again? Why aren't we getting more character development? Why are we getting more of the story? And also, so then they would start to build up the Justice League in these little segments, and there were a couple parts that were extremely lazy, that were extremely easy as far as fitting in the Flash and fitting in Aquaman and fitting in these things. Especially where it lost me is it's all building up to this climactic battle of Batman versus Superman, and the way that they did it makes Batman an idiot, and it frustrated me. And it gets right up to the point where, of course, we know that they are going to become friends. They're going to go from enemies to friends, and they're going to end up working together in this Justice League. And it all comes up to this one point where one character says one thing, and that changes everything. And I did not believe it. I didn't buy it. I didn't think it was authentic. It was kind of ridiculous. And you're supposed to believe that Batman in particular would have such a change of heart over one word. And I thought it was kind of ridiculous. And I thought that the action, the fights, particularly, there's really only 3 fights in the movie. There's 2 dream sequences that have fights. One of them was kind of cool, but annoying because it was a dream. And that I felt was it was like a gotcha. And there were a couple gotcha moments in this movie where I thought that Zack Snyder kind of was doing that, and that irritated me. And so there's 2 dream sequences that irritated me, and then the final big fight I thought was a lot of crashing into things. It wasn't really a good, like, if you're wanting like a good martial arts style fight, you're not going to get it. It's, at least to me, I didn't think it was, but not in an interesting way. Like, I didn't buy it. I didn't like it. It felt very kind of Green Goblin versus Peter Parker in the first Spider-Man. It's kind of how it felt at the end there. So yeah, that was disappointing. And like I said, what unites them I thought was completely ridiculous. It didn't work. And so they end up becoming united, whatever. And I thought Lois Lane, I didn't think that they had chemistry, and I didn't think that it worked with her within the story. You know, it's like they had to have her find certain things, they had to have her do certain things, and it just felt like, shouldn't Batman be doing this? Shouldn't Superman be doing this? Shouldn't someone else be doing this? It didn't really work. And yeah, and then the ending of the movie really made me mad. And I can't talk about it because it's spoilery, but it's as if Zack Snyder thought that we were all stupid. That's how I felt. You know, that we know a Justice League movie is coming, so this long, drawn-out, emotional ending that they give is a trick. I didn't like it. I don't like being tricked, and I just don't think the American public is stupid. I'd be the biggest Batman fan in the world, but I know enough to know that what happens at the end of this movie is not real. That's the only way I can say it. Sorry. And so that really, really annoyed me, and it felt like they're trying to squeeze phony emotion out of me, and because of phony events, and have this sort of phony cliffhanger. And I'm not stupid, so I didn't buy it, and I didn't like that very much at all. So anyway, so yeah, so the good things. I did like some of the stuff in the first like hour and change. The character development is sort of bumping off of Man of Steel. I thought that Ben Affleck was pretty good as Batman, although he's manipulated way too easily. I thought that Henry Cavill was fine as Superman. I thought that Gal Gadot was actually pretty good as Wonder Woman. That's basically my good. I didn't like Jesse Eisenberg's Lex Luthor. I didn't like... I didn't like the way that they transitioned from Batman versus Superman to them working together. I hated the ending, and I thought it was edited poorly together. I didn't think that it looked all that great. It wasn't dark in a pleasing way. It was just dark. And I felt like Zack Snyder tried to trick us a number of times throughout them. There was a lot of gotcha moments. And I thought that Doomsday, who we see in the trailer, looked horrible. But yeah, so there were a lot of problems with this movie. It definitely didn't need to be as long as this. The Justice League stuff felt wedged in at times, and especially once I knew the ending, then I was even more annoyed at that stuff, because it's like they're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They're trying to give this cliffhanger that pretends like Justice League isn't happening, at the same time that they are putting all these clues to the Justice League in there. So yeah. So I ended up giving it a C- in my review. I'll put a link down in my written review if you want to read it. I was disappointed. My brother hated it. He gave it like an F. He hated it. So, and he's a huge Batman fan. So there you go. So that's kind of my thoughts on Batman v Superman. I think a lot of people are gonna Phantom Menace this. They're gonna kind of defend it, and then once kind of the novelty wears off, they're going to realize that there's a lot of problems in this movie. And I'm sorry, but the low Rotten Tomatoes score is deserved. Sorry. It's not a very good movie. It's got a lot of problems. So, sorry. But I hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoy it, that's awesome. Put it in the comment section. And thanks so much. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.